This video is going to show you how to schedule and begin a Zoom meeting. So when you navigate to zoom.us, click on My Account on the top right-hand side, and you can click on Meetings on the left-hand side or Schedule Meeting, and that's a quick way to do it. But if you go to Meetings, you'll see all of the meetings that you have scheduled, and you can also just click Schedule a New Meeting. And here you could give your meeting a topic. So I'm going to call this Math Lesson. This is a math lesson for my students. I can give it a description if I'd like. I can pick the date, so I'll pick tomorrow, and I'll make it at 1. Yeah, I'll leave it at p.m., 1 p.m. The duration is 1 hour. You can adjust this. If you have an educational account or a paid upgraded account, you can go over the 40-minute minimum, so you won't be kicked off after 40 minutes. If this is a reoccurring meeting, you could say it happens every day, or maybe it's a weekly meeting and it happens weekly on Thursdays. So you get to choose that. Does it happen every day, every week, every month? If it happens weekly and it's weekly on Tuesdays and Thursdays and you just check those few days of the week, you can check all that apply or none that apply. And then you can also say that it ends on June 25th, the last day of school. So it happens every week on Thursday until June 25th. And that's how you'd make it reoccurring. If this was just a one-time meeting, you'd uncheck that box and it would just be a one-time meeting. Registration required would mean it would require them to register when they joined. I wouldn't necessarily do this for my students. It's just another extra annoying step for them, unless you are using this for attendance purposes, and that's up to your district. So if they are using that for attendance purposes, then you might want to check that box. Otherwise, you don't need to. Meeting ID, I would not use your personal ID. I would generate a new meeting ID, so that way it's not your static personal meeting ID. Require a password. I would absolutely do this with students to make sure you keep your environment safe and secure. It does generate an automatic random password for you. You can change it. It does need to be numeric. It can't be a word or phrase. For video, I like to keep it on for the host and the participants. So right when they join, their camera's on. They can always turn it off. But I find when I'm doing this with students, a lot of them don't want to turn their camera on. So it's just easier if it's on. And if they don't want it on, they can turn it off. For audio, it says they can join by telephone or computer or both. Most of the time, they're just going to be doing it by computer, but you could always leave it on in case they want to call in. But most of the time, they're just doing it on their computer. Enable join before host. I would never check that box because then they'd be able to get in without you, and you don't want them in there unattended. Mute participants upon entry. This is an awesome feature because then you don't hear a lot of that background noise, and they're all muted when they join. But they can unmute themselves if they want to speak, or you can unmute them, and I'll show you that in another video. Enable waiting rooms is really helpful. That makes sure that participants or students that you don't want in there won't be in there. So they go into a waiting room and you have to let them in. If they put a silly name, you won't let them in. So they have to make sure that they're putting a name that you recognize. Only authenticated users can join. I would not use that method because then that means your students need to have a Zoom account too, and most districts do not provide their students with Zoom accounts. Breakout rooms pre-assigned, so you could actually put students in breakout rooms. You could pre-assign them their breakout rooms. I usually do it while we're in the meeting and I assign them to breakout rooms. Alternative host is a co-teacher or a teaching assistant, someone that could help you monitor your chat, let the users in off the wait list, and mute and unmute students as needed. And also, if you're running a little late, they can start the meeting before you. So it's super helpful to have an alternative host. If you're using this as a school district, most of the time your school district chose the preset settings for you to make sure that it's safe and secure. So you don't even have to worry about this. If your school district gave you an account, chances are they set it up the most safe and secure way. So I would just leave everything as is. When you're ready, you just click save. And here you'll notice you can add this to your calendar. There's several different calendar options, and they show you the settings that you chose. You can also save that as a meeting template so you can always reuse that same settings over and over. But again, you noticed I didn't really change much about this because my district set it up for me like that, so I don't need to worry. Most importantly, you're going to click copy the invitation, and this is the information you're going to give to your participants, whether they're students, parents, teachers, whatever they are. If you click copy meeting invitation, it's a lot. A lot of it you don't need. The most important part is the topic with the date and the time. The link to join. And then if they do have the Zoom downloadable software, they might enter the meeting ID, but most importantly, the password. So the part that I highlighted right here is really the only thing that you need to give your users. They really only need to know the date, the time, the link, and the password. So that's all right here. You don't really need to give them anything else. So you copy that, you could paste it in Teams, in Google Classroom, in an email, in a calendar invitation, anywhere you want to paste it, you can. Once you send that information out, when you're ready to join this meeting, guess what? They can't join without you, so you have to start it. So when you're logged into Zoom at the date and time of the meeting, I'm going to go to my account. I'm going to click on meetings, and I will click next to my math lesson, start, to start the meeting. And I'll show you a bunch of different tools once you're in there, but that is how you schedule, share, and start a Zoom meeting.